Sitting here today on the last day of Bahab at the Kosel, hundreds and hundreds of policemen here after the Arabs have threatened retaliation after the supposed killing of an Arab journalist. Things, as usual, are heated here in this area of Kedusha, and Hashem should have mercy on us and spare us from any Jewish blood being spilled. And I want to bring out an important point today. I mentioned this in previous shirim that I spoke at Levaya, a close Talmud of mine who unfortunately, in the state of great pain and psychological duress, took his life. And when I was asked to speak at the Levaya, I was speaking to myself. I mentioned a very uh, poignant, cutting idea, very strong idea that made a big impact on my life. One of my Svarim, Praying with Joy 3, talks about the Vidoy, the connection between the pairs in Vidoy of Al-Khet, and on the Al-Khet of Yoidim V'lo Yoidim, I bring their commentary I actually saw, my wife told me about in the book, Carry Me in Your Heart, Carry Me in Your Heart, about the Beis Yaakov movement. Al Yoidim V'lo Yoidim, that's, on a simple level, Yoidim V'lo Yoidim means the affairs that we didn't know about, that we did, Shogim. But on a deeper level, the book explains that there's a lot of things that we don't know about. Um, how much people are suffering, how much people are going through their lives. And I mentioned that the Levi of this young man, that obviously we didn't know the full extent of his pain because it was a surprise to so many people how he had taken his life, and the fact that it happened so suddenly, and we were all so shocked by it. The fact that we were so shocked by it obviously made it was a surprise. We were shocked. Lo Yud. It was Lo Yud. Anyway, I thought I had spoken very to the point and gotten the message across. In fact, I spoke to the Rav of that community a few weeks afterwards, and he said that the community had not taken it, had a hard time taking it, hard time with it, because they felt that they were concerned. They were caring and concerned, and in fact, the whole community is set up to be a kihila, to be more concerned, and they had not been happy. They'd been offended by the message that I was going to go. Just thinking about it, thinking about, on one hand, you have to say things that need to be said, and when such an incident happens, I felt it's incumbent to say such a thing. It's obviously we need to always work harder on being more sensitive. No matter how sensitive a person is, always have to be more sensitive and more concerned and more caring on one hand. On the other hand, it struck me as a little bit of an irony of what happened because it was a low yodim, right? I didn't realize how they would take this message. I thought it was exactly the right thing to be said, and in fact, right after I spoke to the Rav, another Rav called me up and said it was exactly what he needed to hear. He felt the same exact way. And if he had been more in contact with this young man, he could have helped him more. But the fact that I said such a drasha, such a hesped, and that there was such reaction, that's also a little yoidim. I didn't know how the Sibor would react in such a strong way. And it just goes to show how careful we have to be at Heichen Advarim Magim, how almost there's an infinite level of sensitivity that the Torah places on us, and how far we have to go. How far we have to go. How we can never be satisfied with our level of sensitivity. Every single day we have to be increasing it and understanding that no matter how sensitive we are, but there's always farther to go. I was lucky to be a Talmud of Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach, and his sensitivity was unbelievable. Just to mention a very quick story, there's a sefer called, two svarim actually, called Chikum Hamtakim that talk about his life and his chesed and his hadhagas, his actions. And unbelievable, I believe this book must be translated to English. I've been working many years now to find somebody who's willing to do it, and a publisher. I haven't been successful yet. anybody knows someone who would do this, this would be a great benefit for a man, for Klal Yisrael. But in any event, he writes there that every Friday he would go to the Makola, to the store, and buy a bottle of grape juice. And one of Talmidim saw this once. He said, Rebbe, I'll go for you. Why do you have to waste your time? You're the guy at the door. You don't have to waste your time buying grape juice. He said, you don't understand. The owner of that store is an almana, and her whole week centers around that 5 minutes I go in and buy the grape juice. Right? I'm not going to take that away from her. The great sensitivity of Shlomo Zalman Auerbach understood that how important it was for this almana for him to go and buy a bottle of grape juice, and how in today's fast-paced society, and which is so goal-oriented, we're so goal-oriented, we're so interested in getting from point A to point B that sometimes we forget that along the way there's people involved, and the, that the goal is not necessarily the goal, but getting to the goal and how you the process is so critical, and taking into account people's feelings, their understanding, even if they're doing the right thing. But even the right thing has to be done in the right way. And to be super sensitive to people's sensitivities, to understand how far it goes, and how we ourselves don't want to be, have often been hurt by people's innocent comments, which are not completely thought out. As I say, I was at the shiva of Chaya Kapinski, the daughter of Ari Kapinski, Hashem Yom Dam, who died 2 years before he was killed in Harnov. And someone said to him, "You have other children. Just get on with life." And that was probably one of the most insensitive comments I ever heard in my life. To say to somebody who just lost his daughter, "You have other children. Get on with life." But we all do the same thing in some form, in some sort of way, that we say things that lack sensitivity, and to be able to touch, to speak in a way which is super sensitive and can appreciate people's feelings, take them into consideration. That's really, really incredibly, it's an art. And those who could do it, of course, one of the most outstanding practitioners of this art is Rav Shmuel Kamenetsky. When you speak to him, you feel like it's such a grasp and language, speech, that he's able to do that. Rebdo was like that, and so many of the Gedolim have that art, and we all really have to work on it. Alo yoidim, and if we speak to a kehila, the fact that I spoke to kehila and they were upset afterwards, it's just another example of lo yoidim. We have to do tshuva on that as well. So I'm doing tshuva on that. Hatasi abisi pashati al chet shiyoidim v'lo yoidim. Right? And of course, the pair chet with that is the Yetzer Hara. The Yetzer Hara blinds us. It stops us from seeing the whole picture and tells us it's the right thing, the goal, give them musr, let them have it. So we have to be careful in those instances. Yodim below Yodim. Hashem should open our eyes and our hearts and help us to be super sensitive to everyone around us and everything that's going on. I'll just finish with one idea which really encapsulates what Musar is really all about and how sensitive a Jew is meant to be. It was the first shmuz I ever heard was from when I was, I think, 18. I got here to Eretz Yisrael, 17, 18. It was from Rav Naftali Kaplan in Shabi Gesundz, one of the great Bali Musar of our generation. He was talking about Dinah, how Yaakov would put Dinah in a chest to hide her from Esav, so he shouldn't try to marry Esav. And he said that the Chazal tell us Yaakov was punished afterwards for stopping Dinah from marrying Esav, because if had she married Esav, maybe he would have she would have set him on the right path. So asked the Alter Mikelm, what is Yaakov meant to do? What was Yaakov meant to do? He was saving his daughter from Esav. And the answer is that Alter Kalm says that when he closed down the lid, he should have sighed and give a crest, like only I can help my brother. And that's how far we have to go. We have to get Musar gets into the deepest recesses of one's heart and identifies those very, very subtle feelings that we're supposed to have. That's really Musar is. So I conclude as you can hear the dancing going on in the Kosel here as Zman for Talis and Tfilim has arrived, and a group of men every morning dance, as like you can see here. I'll take you to them, seeing them dance and sing. You can see this group of people dancing, great joy over the mitzvah of Talis and Tefillin. We should all use all of our sensitivities to serve Hashem properly. Joy over the mitzvahs that we have, Talis and Tefillin, and all the mitzvahs we have. Hashem should help us, give us Yad and Ishmaya to appreciate and to feel the great joy in all the mitzvahs, and especially when dealing with people. Men, Cain, and Son.